How long does whiskey last after you open the bottle? It's a question I get a lot. I've seen folks save and sip a bottle well over a few years, especially a rare one. A lot of factors can come into play once you open that bottle, where you store it, how much whiskey is left in the bottle. Oxidation comes into play. Honestly, it can be pretty subjective to declare that a specific whiskey has gone bad or not. There are a few tricks that I've learned to savor a rare bottle a little bit longer. So let's talk about that, some of the science behind it, and get a little nerdy on the Mash and Drum. Welcome to the Mash and Drum. I am Jason C, and today is a special episode dedicated to help that whiskey in those rare and coveted bottles taste as good as the day you opened it, but maybe 5 years later. So before we get into some guidelines, let's address some common questions I get about what happens to a new bottle of whiskey while it's in the bottle. First question I get that's probably pretty common sense for a lot of whiskey enthusiasts is, if there is a bottle sitting at a store and it's 5-6 years old, will it get better or age over time while it sits in that glass bottle? And the simple answer is no. If you happen to find a bottle that's been sitting on the shelf for 7 years, it's really not going to taste any different than it did 7 years ago. It's not going to age anymore. It's not going to change anymore unless a few things happen, which we'll get into. Now, this could be due to a number of reasons, including evaporation of alcohol, increasing ratio of air to liquid, exposure to direct sunlight, and temperature swings. First, let's talk about oxidation or oxygen exposure. All right, I'm gonna need a drink before we get all nerdy. This is a pour that I really love. We're gonna do a little experiment here in a little bit. But damn, that's delicious. All right. So there are some folks that believe that whiskey oxidizing is actually a myth. Oxidizing in layman's terms means reacts with oxygen. Now, let's go to the beginning. When you go back to distillation is done at high temperatures. So any compounds that could have been oxidized should theoretically happen at that stage. Next is the barrel aging, putting whiskey in a charred oak barrel, which in and of itself is the most oxidized form of wood since you're literally burning the inside. Now, due to angel share, there's also air present in that barrel during the entire aging process. So after all that, how can any more oxygen do anything to whiskey once it's in a glass bottle? Every time you open a bottle of whiskey, it's not the new air going in the bottle that's going to make the difference. It's the escape of headspace in the bottle when it opens that makes the difference. Remember, alcohol is more unstable than water, so it can take up much of the space that's above the liquid here in the neck. Now, when a bottle is open and that escapes, more alcohol fills the space after the bottle is sealed again, which can lower the proof. So this happens every time the bottle is opened. Think of it as like adding a drop of water to a glass of whiskey and all the changes it can cause. You're not adding water when you open a bottle, but the loss of alcohol makes the water inside the bottle that's left more relevant. All right, for experimental purposes, we're gonna go through two quick tastings. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. This is one of my favorite batches of all time, B520, 127.2 proof. Now, this essentially is about 2 years old. This is the first bottle I got, which is pretty much all the way down to the bottom. This is my second backup bottle that I got that I actually opened about 2 days ago just to do this test. So let's pour them real quick. So what I want to do here is test a bottle that's been open for pretty much a year and has a lot of air in the bottle, or I should say a lot less alcohol in the bottle, compared to an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, the same exact batch. I didn't want to use a single barrel because those can vary either way just because it's a single barrel. So these are batched for consistency. So let's see if there's any big changes that have happened here from the bottle from last year to the same exact batch that was just opened a couple days ago. So after going back and forth, the only thing that I could really find a big difference is that the newer bottle of Elijah Craig, the one that I recently opened, does have a little bit more alcohol punch to it, whereas the one that's been open for a year has definitely come through a little bit softer. Let's try them. Holy crap, I forgot how good that is. Oh my God, it's a butterscotch bomb. I love it so much. All right, it's the same rich, delicious, butterscotchy, oaky, little bit of cherry, little bit of chocolate type flavor monster that I'm used to with Logic Quake Barrel Proof. All right, let's go to the one that we just opened a couple days ago. Much more of a burn on this one. I definitely get more alcohol. There's more of a finish on it. It's actually a little bit more mouth coating too, versus the one that's been over a year old. So this kind of shows me that it is kind of like adding water to a bottle, because this is a little bit more subdued than the one that I just opened 2 days ago. By opening and closing that cork over the past year, all that loss of alcohol has made the water inside the bottle more relevant. All right, so next experiment, Remus Repeal Batch 3. This is from 2019, so that's a pretty long time ago, looking at almost 3 years ago. Now this is a fresh new bottle of Remus Repeal 3. I have not opened this yet. Now we're gonna compare a bottle that's almost 3 years old to a bottle with a fresh crack. Remember, these are bottled at 100 proof. They're both high age blends, and they are both Remus Repeal batch number 3. So let's go to the, actually, you know what? I'm gonna start with the fresh crack one first. Man, oak, cherry, orange spice all day long. A little bit of Coca-Cola too, like flat Coca-Cola on the nose. Love that one. All right, let's try the one that's been open for almost 3 years. Wow, it really sounded really New York right there. 3 years, 3 years. Now this one to me is actually coming off a lot sweeter. So again, some of the time with a lot of the alcohol escaping the bottle, essentially adding water to the bottle, with the water becoming more volatile as the alcohol comes out, has made it a little bit sweeter, almost like dropping a couple drops of water in it. All right, let's try the new bottle. Again, more of that cherry cola, more of that orange peel, quintessential MGP, a lot of spice, a ton of cinnamon here. Really nice finish there. I'm gonna let this sit on my palate a little bit before I try the next one here. Talk amongst yourselves.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
All right, it's been a couple minutes. Let's go to the one that's almost 3 years old. In comparison, it's gotten sweeter. It's lost a little bit of the spice. And that long finish I was getting on the fresh bottle has somewhat dissipated. So even over a 3-year period of time, there isn't a huge difference, guys. Let me say this, in both examples, the Logic Quake Barrel Proof and the Remus. So what I found for me personally is, while there may not be any significant changes after a bottle is opened, over a certain period of time, I did notice the alcohol content to be a little less harsh, especially when you're thinking about a year or further. The real changes for me comes in the glass. Pouring only a few ounces in your glass, letting it oxidize for 15 to 20 to 30 minutes, letting it sit reveals more change in the whiskey just sitting in the glass and the changes it goes through sitting in the bottle over a long period of time. Now with that said, there are some significant changes that can happen within the bottle under certain circumstances. So whiskey's overall high alcohol content and low sugar content means it's fairly stable. But a whiskey that has a lot of air in it, or as we learn, less alcohol, can start to change, go bad, or get funky after about 2 years of opening that bottle. Now the reason why I say that is because depending on your palate, after 2 years, you may think that whiskey tastes just fine. Others may think it tastes a whole lot different. Either way, there will be some changes to the flavor of your whiskey after a 2-year period, maybe even sooner, with a lot of air in that bottle as the alcohol content lowers from that evaporation. So here's some tips to follow to not only take care of most of your bottles, but also prolong the life of your most treasured ones. But before we do that, check out my sponsor, Shaker and Spoon. You guys have heard me talk about Shaker and Spoon before, and I love their subscription so much that I decided to make some more cocktails and show you just how badass these boxes can be. So included in the box, you get all these different recipe cards that guide you through mixing and garnishing each cocktail step by step. And you even get a glossary that explains any unfamiliar bartending terms. Each box includes all the ingredients other than the alcohol. You have to supply your own alcohol, but you get about enough ingredients for 12 cocktails, 4 from each recipe. Everything you need: syrups, bitters, garnishes, infusions, hydrosols, and all sorts of crazy stuff. They give you specialty syrups that are all house made, all created in small batches in Red Hook, Brooklyn. This box actually came with lemons. So today I'm breaking in a new box named Kickback with Cognac. Now I love cognac finished bourbon, so why not make some cocktails with some cognac by itself? Now the cocktail I'm making is called Spiced Berry Sipper. So for this one, I just need my cognac that I already poured in my mixer, and then the supplied ingredients of spiced strawberry syrup, Angostura bitters, and lemon oil. Now, this all sounds really cool. I never had a cognac cocktail before, so let's make this thing. All right, so all I gotta do first is add my cognac, which is already in here, my syrups, and all my bitters to the mixer. So first things first, spiced strawberry syrup. Well, that just sounds freaking delicious. I need a ½ ounce of it, so I'm gonna go a little bit more than a ½ ounce because that just sounds delicious. Next is Angostura bitters. Angostura bitters is pretty common. You see them used a lot in old fashions and a bunch of other cocktails. This one, I need 2 dashes, not just drops, but 2 full dashes of Angostura bitters. Let's mix it up. All right, strain into a rocks glass over a fresh, large ice cube. I got my glass here, it says nothing a better whiskey can't fix. It's very true. All right, last but not least, a spritz of lemon oil. Never seen that in a cocktail, but we're gonna... Oh, there we go. I think I did 2 spritzes, but that's okay, I like lemon. All right, let's give it a go, cheers. This reminds me of actually kind of a Sazerac, like a more fruit-forward Sazerac, a Vucare, one of those more of those classic cocktails. But the lemon and the strawberry together is really nice. This is great now that it's about to get real hot outside, because once summer hits, this will be a perfect cocktail. It's light, it's fruity, the cognac is there to kind of balance it out. Another hitter from Shaker and Spoon. All right, so while I drink all this, let's recap real quickly. Shaker and Spoon is a monthly cocktail subscription box that will deliver these craft cocktails to you. Again, each box has 3 recipes created by world-class bartenders and enough ingredients for 12 total cocktails. But click the link below in the description or use this code right here, MASHANDDRUM, at checkout for $20 off your first box. Now go get some fun cocktails delivered to your door, share with your friends, enjoy your summer, and I'm gonna keep drinking this. Cheers, everybody. Rule number 1, keep your bottles away from direct sunlight and heat. Alongside extreme temperatures, direct sunlight can do a number on your whiskey. Enough of it over a long period of time will worsen the flavors, throwing off the delicate balance of the whiskey. Plus, sunlight affects the temperature, which can destabilize the spirit and, in extreme heat, damage the cork, and because of expansion and pressure, make the friggin' cork explode. No joke. Step 2 is a no-brainer. Store your bottles properly. That means upright. It's not wine. Don't put it on its side. Contact with the cork can contribute to changing the flavor and also damaging the cork. Now, most bottle designs these days will not allow you to store the bottle on the side. But there are a lot of whiskeys that are bottled in wine-like bottles, so I have gotten the question before, should I store them upright or can I store them on the side like wine? The answer is upright. Always make sure your corks or screw tops are firmly in place. Find a cool, dark, man cave-like place where your whiskey can be displayed proud and no sunlight or heat can touch it. Now, luckily, my whiskey room is in my basement where it's cool. There's no sunlight at all, so bottles like this can last a little bit longer, even after 3 years. Now, once you learn how to store it, it's time to drink it. Once you drink it, it's only a matter of time until that bottle gets about halfway down and oxygen and time takes its toll. Now, one solution is to gas your whiskey. That's right, literally adding 100% inert, non-toxic gas, which is a balanced mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and argon to remove all the oxygen from your open bottle. Now, this solution to me is good for folks who want to keep the beautiful rare bottle of whiskey on the shelf and not utilize my last tip, which we'll get to. However, I will say I haven't used the gas system long enough to find out if gassing a whiskey can actually mess with the flavor. Now, folks that I've talked to says it works great, but if any of you out there have used it before over a long period of time, let me know down in the comments what your results were. Finally, my last tip is to transfer that last half of your precious rare whiskey into a smaller bottle to minimize the water taking over the alcohol inside that bottle and keep the flavors as consistent as possible for as long as possible. Now, for me, it's the easiest and most practical solution that works. So basically, is get yourself a funnel, get a smaller bottle, a 375, clean out that bottle, transfer your whiskey, put a fancy new label on it, and you're done. The only part that sucks is that you lose the precious bottle your original whiskey came in to make way for a cheaper looking stand-in. For example, the last Old Forester birthday bourbon that I own, I transferred to a smaller bottle to keep it as long as possible because it was getting pretty low. Yeah, I can't really show this on my shelf anymore, but at the same time, the whiskey I'm sure is gonna be better for it. And just think, as a whiskey collector, you could start a brand new shelf with tons of small whiskey bottles to find and fill with better spirits. Yeah, I know, everyone's gonna kill me because it's just something else that everyone's gonna try to collect now. Now, of course, if you tend to drink and share your whiskey over a short period of time, then this video was definitely not meant for you. But for those of you out there that like to sip a little at a time and milk that coveted bottle as long as possible, hope you learned a little bit and how to prolong the life of your bottle as long as you can. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching this informational, educational video here on the Mash and Drum today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. Let me know down in the comments any tips and tricks that you may have that you've used over a long period of time. Have you tried bottles from even further, further back than I did? Always love to hear your comments. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Go check your collection. Make sure there's no sunlight. Make sure it's in a dark place. Make sure that they're all upright. Make sure that you're transferring all those coveted bottles to a smaller bottle. Or just do what I do. Just drink it and share it. Cheers, guys.